McLaren, but we're ruling out McLaren because McLaren's aero efficiency is really bad. Their top speed is bad. They have balance, but they don't have enough pace and power deployment. So the only people who can challenge Mercedes right now are Red Bull and Ferrari. So you're looking at Sector 1 in the red and Sector 2 are going to go to Mercedes because Sector 1 requires a lot of balance and stability. Mercedes has more balance and stability than both. Sector 2 requires traction, braking, and ability to change direction. Mercedes is far better than both of them in that. So you're already looking at Sector 1 and 2. They have the advantage. Now, the last part, Sector 3, which is a high-speed sector, Ferrari has clipping issues and burns out before they can get to the end, partly due to the fact that they're just not deploying energy. They can deploy energy with bursts coming off corners, but they can't sustain available power as much as Mercedes. So in Sector 3, Mercedes is going to have a big advantage over Ferrari. Now in Sector 3, Red Bull can keep up with Ferrari, but by that, not with Ferrari, they can keep up with Mercedes, and they can also harvest very well and have a lot of pace and energy at the end, but they're going to be so far behind at Sector 1 and 2 that Russell's going to take it. So my prediction is that in the qualifying, Russell, who has the most balanced car and the most well-distributed car, what I mean by just balance, not just the balance of the car, a good balance between raw power, not just raw power deployed, also being able to maintain that power over a whole lap without losing energy or clipping too much because of their software. And then at the same time, they also have a balanced car. So they have all three. So I think that's why Russell is going to come first in qualifying. I'm going to predict that Antonelli is going to come second or third. If he comes third, Verstappen will beat him because as we saw, Hadjar came third in Australia. So there's no reason to believe that if Verstappen doesn't have an issue with his back of his car locking out, he should be able to come third or second. And then I'm going to say that fighting for fourth is going to be Leclerc and Hamilton again, because even though their car is fast and punchy, it doesn't have enough sustained power over a whole lap. And it has too many problems with instability, with the fact that it goes from snap, oversteer, understeer. The car, it sort of waffles like a fish. Like, when you see a fish out of water, that's what Ferrari does in the corners. And I think it's going to hurt them. But the main thing that's really hurting Ferrari is the fact that it has bursts of energy and can deploy a lot of raw power, but can't sustain it. So like I said, I'm going to stick with Russell P1 for qualifying. I'm going to say Verstappen. Now I'm going to say Antonelli because I think the Mercedes car is better for this track, so that even if Verstappen has an advantage over Antonelli in driving, Antonelli will come P2. And then I'm going to say Verstappen P3. And I'm going to go out and say that it's a toss-up between Hamilton and Leclerc. And the reason I say so is that Leclerc pushes it to the limit. And on this track, with its technical demands and everything, he might make a little error and give room for Hamilton. I believe that the McLaren guys are going to be a little bit behind both of them. But I believe on this track, Piastri will beat Norris because Piastri is more patient and knows how to craft. He stays within his limits and doesn't make as many mistakes as Norris makes, because we know Norris also likes to push the limits. What are your thoughts, Bearden?
To be fair, I think you're right. The Red Bull has rightly been underrated because if you look at it, nobody expected Isaac Hadjar to finish where he finished in Australia. So I think one thing Red Bull tend to do is they tend to improve the performance of the car from free practice to qualifying to main race. So I think that is something that tends to help Red Bull. They learn from those opportunities, those testings that they have, and tend to give a better performance on the car. I think you rightly said that if Max was in that race, he would have closed that gap. But to be honest, I'm beginning to think that Ferrari, all the mojo behind Ferrari during the build-up to the season is beginning to show the lack of performance from the Ferrari car. But it's just the first race of the season. Let me not jinx it yet. They'll turn up and deliver a performance we will likely see.
I think their problem is in they have a good ICE, but I think their problem is in the software, because now the software has to predict the best strategy over a lap. So I think Ferrari is relying on old school. Let's just show some power at the beginning. But Mercedes is using GPS and AI to tell them where to slow down and harvest, where to build pace. So I think the Mercedes has a better strategy because of the electrical part and also because of the harvesting, which is predicted by their software. So I think that
Yeah.
Ferrari's hardware is as good as Mercedes hardware, but it's the
Yeah,
software.
you're right.
But I'm just
Because
curious.
if you look at the strategy in Australia too, Mercedes took the gamble to pit during the first virtual safety car, and
Yeah,
Ferrari, as usual, always slow to react. And Lewis actually came out to say one of the cars should have pitted as the Mercedes pitted. I don't know. Ferrari seem not to learn from for the past 4 seasons.
they
Strategy,
don't let.
strategy, strategy. They don't learn,
No, they
and it's
don't let.
really going to cost them because I think if they had pitted when Mercedes pitted, they would have finished in the podium. I disagree.
Yeah.
I agree, but I'm not really optimistic about the Red Bull car. And
Oh
because
yeah.
it performed well in Australia, does not mean it will replicate the same performance in China. I think
But
that's
here's
just
why I'm saying that. If you remember, and I
slightly
follow this back, yeah.
disagreeing.
Do you remember
Yeah.
Max Verstappen had the benchmark in Bahrain where he did 160 laps and he was within zero point zero 0.02 delta of each lap consistently? Remember that at Falabi?
Yeah.
And he hit 346 kilometers. So what I'm saying is that Red Bull has proven now that their software is just as good as Mercedes, but they don't have as much raw power as Mercedes. But when you see Hadja coming third in qualifying in front of Ferrari and them,
Yeah,
and only
that sends a message. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
it sends a
That
message.
sends
So my argument is that I'm predicting that Red Bull is right now is the second best car on the grid, closely, very closely followed by Ferrari. But even if they're not the second best, coming into this, people were saying Red Bull is the fourth best. They're clearly better than McLaren. And even if Ferrari is better than them, they'll give
yeah.
Ferrari a run for their money. Yes, so that's a good one. What are your thoughts? So, Mr. Johnny, what are your thoughts about qualifying? How do you think it's going to play out?
Looking at that, I mean, track basically is a track best for Ferrari and Mercedes because it's got that long, nice straight line. Mercedes, I mean,
Oh, yeah.
Ferrari likes this, nice straight line, and then with their lightweight turbo unit, so that is very good. And then Mercedes is very good coming out of corners. They're really good at that and very stable. So for both of them, it's gonna be very good for both of them. So they're gonna really use it out. But I think Mercedes has the advantage because first of all we've seen in the last race how they've kind of like got on lockdown the power dispersion abilities, like that. So they're going to use both of their advantages. It's a pity for Ferrari. They'll be all right with straight line, and then when the wine runs out, then they start having problems.
Yeah, yeah.
Like that. Yes, and then yes, and then well, we like you said about Red Bull. Red Bull, they're still. Well, Ferrari, and Verstappen. I know the way I know Verstappen is going to find out something. He's going to do something he'll manage. He'll bring up something out of that. His Red Bull magic hat. He'll pull some kind of magic trick out, and he'll still be part of it.
Here's what he's doing. Here's what Verstappen is doing. It's dangerous because he downshifts. So because he downshifts, he doesn't harvest early like other people. Other people harvest early so they can build up a lot of power for the corner. What he does is he doesn't harvest so he can have a lot of speed going into the first corner. Then, because he knows that he's wasted all of his battery, he now downshifts quickly,
and then
which causes the revving. That revving will generate for the other end. So that's why he's going to be good. But the problem is that it's dangerous because when you downshift like that, it could lead to a lockout, like how he locked out with the back of his car. So what I'm arguing is if Max Verstappen can manage that, and only he can do that downshift. So what he's doing is he's getting a lot of speed in the straights. Then he doesn't worry about the fact that he messed up his battery because he downshifts and brakes. And within that downshift and brake, within a second and a half, he harvests enough for coming off of the corners. And that's how he drives anyway. Verstappen likes to come into slow speed corners faster than other people so that even though they go faster through the corners, he has more momentum based on his entry speed, even though he's decelerating more. So it's going to be interesting to see. But I think the problem with Ferrari, their main problem, though, is two things. Their instability in the corners. And also, Ferrari has a lag in their transition, their XZ, which means that when they come into the corners, when they transition from lift to downforce, it's too abrupt. It's like a parachute. Then when they come off of the corners, they don't drop the downforce enough to get the straights. So they have some aerodynamic problems. But I think you're right. Ferrari does like a long straight very well. So it's going to be interesting. And I believe that Ferrari and Red Bull will be fighting for P2 in qualifying and probably the race too. What are your thoughts, Afolabi?
Yeah, I'm just going to detail off what you're saying. Basically, that
Copycat. I'm kidding.
first and foremost, Mercedes has the most complete combo, basically,
Yeah.
of
Yes, that's true.
In other words, sorry to cut in front of you. They don't have any weaknesses at all.
Yes, yes.
No.
There seems to be some harmony and equilibrium with the ICE as well as the electrical power unit and the power unit entirely. But for Shanghai provides two great harvesting opportunities. The heavy braking zones at turn 6 and turn 14. However, feeding the battery enough to deploy down the long straights, after a lap requires a lot of heavy lift and coast. This is going to play into the hands of Max Verstappen because he has skill for this kind of driving. The drivers will need to lift off the throttle up to about 100 and 150 meters before turn 14 braking zone in order to regenerate energy. So basically, this is going to help Verstappen first and foremost. Also, they would need to be careful, Red Bull, because of thermal draining. And that's because of the track. It's front limited and the front left tire will suffer some massive degradation. But if I look at the whole setup, like you said, it's probably going to be Russell, Kimi, and then maybe Max Verstappen. Red Bull's Australian problems can mask how good that car is. You mentioned Isaac Hadjar. Isaac Hadjar outperforming the likes of Leclerc was massively impressive. And even before he stopped the race on Sunday, you could see that he was a comfortable P5. That tells you a lot about the quality of that car. So basically, I feel Verstappen thrives in front limited scenarios. He naturally drives with pointy oversteering setups, which unloads the front tires and protects the left from graining. So I think this is going to help him. Mercedes, on the other hand, I think would comfortably lock out 1 and 2 in the qualifying. For the race proper, anything can happen, really. You saw the number of overtakes we saw in as many laps on the race on Sunday. It was more like a PlayStation game. So we never know what we're going to see because of these long back straights. So we never know. But for qualifying, certainly Mercedes 1, 2, and maybe Red Bull.
Yeah, and so I'm going to argue that in the race, Russell, we know that Russell's skill is he's what I call a hybrid person. He does a hybrid between lifting and coasting and using his braking to charge. He uses his braking. So what he does is he'll lift and coast and all of that. But when he gets close to the corner again, he has a heavy foot. He'll use the braking to charge again. Whereas Verstappen is now using all or nothing. He's going all out and downshifting, which is a little bit more aggressive, which I think is going to put more wear on the tires and put more instability. So I'm going to give Russell the race pace advantage. I think, what's his name? Kimi is still not skilled enough. I think he's going to burn his tires out more than Verstappen so that even if he qualifies ahead of Verstappen, Verstappen's going to pass him. And I think the battle for, so Kimi will come third. I think the battle for third, fourth, and fifth is going to be between Kimi, Hamilton, and Leclerc. And I'm going to go down the limit to that Hamilton has a chance to beat Leclerc here because Hamilton has actually better race pace than Leclerc because Hamilton manages his tires better and has a smoother style on the corners. And if you see it, because Leclerc only beat Hamilton by half a second in Australia. So I'm going to argue, we know that Leclerc is faster than Hamilton, but Leclerc is a sprinter. He goes all out. And he's going to win. He's hard on his front tires, and the front tires are going to be very important. So I'm going to say that it's a coin toss between Hamilton and Leclerc as to who's going to come third, fourth, or fifth. So I'm going to give it to Kimi. I'm going to say Kimi is going to come third after Verstappen and Russell. Then I'm going to say that I can't say who's going to come fourth between Hamilton and Leclerc. I can't say. Let me just say, this is Hamilton's best chance. If he doesn't do it now, he's never going to do it because this type of track is the type of track where you have to be able to take care of your tires. So this is Hamilton's best chance to beat Leclerc. The reason I'm not putting McLaren in front is because McLaren's car doesn't have enough pointiness and aerodynamics to have enough pace. They have good balance, but they have too much drag. Their drag is good for the ground effects era where you need a lot of downforce, but it makes them too slow for this new era where the cars have to be pointy and where balance is not going to be as important. So that's why for McLaren has a good car, but they're going to be behind Ferrari, Red Bull, and Mercedes, just because their car is a car that's based on balance, mechanical grip, suspension, and everything. But those things are less important during this era. What are your thoughts, Beardon? Yeah.
Yeah, I think for the projection for the main race, I think I would just keep my thoughts to myself and my
I know you have to
observation.
say, I'm curious. What are you come on for our
Because,
fans? What are your thoughts?
because I can't really say until free practice.
Okay.
I can't really tell because we are
Do you
based
believe that
on,
Russell will win this race? Yeah.
we are just judging based on the first race of the season.
Okay, but if you guess, what would you give me your podium based on your instincts? Who's
Yeah,
you don't have to say why.
based on my instincts, I think it would be Mercedes, Russell. I think it would be Russell, Kimi, and Max.
Okay, you don't have to say anymore. So what other thoughts do you have? Yeah.
So, but in general, I just think these cars, because of the new regulations,
Yeah.
these cars we can't really predict. But I think after free practice 3 before quali, we'll be able to know the state of the race because
Not to argue, but I think we can still make some hypotheses based on last week's performances and some general quality.
based on last week. If it's based on last week's performances, I think you're right. And
we can make some generalizations. Yeah.
the precedence has been set. The McLaren are struggling, and to be fair, the defending champions are struggling.
One thing we know for sure is that Red Bull and one thing we know for sure is that probably McLaren will be behind all three of them just because they don't have enough pace. Yeah.
And you're right because many people thought Ferrari is ahead of Red Bull, but with what we saw in Australia,
and one of the theories, sorry, go ahead. Yeah. Me and Afalabi covered this on the other show. McLaren's car, they like to have they have Rob Marshall who was with Adrian Newey at Red Bull, and McLaren likes to have the engine tightly wrapped to the body of the car, but that doesn't help in this era because when you do that, it's overload from the energy recovery system. It starts to lead to overheating, and also they made their car. Because during that era, it was downforce. So they were used to complex floors for the Venturi tunnels and for the downforce. And so they have a downforce orientation. So their car has too much drag coming off of the corners because they haven't mastered the concept of the pointy aerodynamics, which will benefit more for now. So, but we know McLaren, they may be behind now. After 8 weeks, they'll be up front again. So you're Red Bull. Yeah, Red Bull. Yeah. All right. So we're almost done. Mr. Johnny, then Fabio will tip in. What are your thoughts, Mr. Johnny, on the race, not just the qualifying? Yeah.
Well, okay, for qualifying, I would say, first of all, between Russell and Verstappen, I would say that 1, 2, and then third, I'm going to put in Hamilton.
No, I won't argue with this time. Hamilton has a good shot because he's a good race pace.
Yeah. Then fourth Leclerc, and then fifth Antonelli. Then for the end, I would say Mercedes. I'll say Russell. I'll say Antonelli. Even I'll say Antonelli first. I'm going to put that because I'm just saying just because I don't like Russell.
You mean for the race? So you were talking about qualifying first, right? Or were you talking?
Yes. I'll talk about qualifying first. But for the race, I'm going to say Antonelli first, then Russell next, then I'll say Antonelli first, then Verstappen next, then Russell.
I can see that Mr. Johnny like
last week he said that Antonelli cannot outscore Russell except he crashes out.
No, but I don't know. But Antonelli can challenge Russell on some tracks though, but not on this track.
Yeah, Russell, Antonelli.
Yeah. So what is your reasoning? So why do you think? Give us your reasoning for your qualifying and then your reasoning for your race. Briefly.
First of all, okay. I just believe that Mercedes is good. It's a good car, and it's a bit. But the thing is that I just don't like Russell. So that's why I'll just put in.
You're not my friend anymore.
Let me tell you what I like
Anybody
about
that does not like Russell does not like me.
Yeah, but what has Russell done? Russell hasn't done anything.
You know, it's funny. I don't like Russell, but I respect him.
Yeah, for me, I would have respected him if he respected himself, because he hasn't done anything yet, and he's talking like as if talking like as if he has won one or two old
I think he needs to watch out for
This is the season. This is the season.
Well,
I'm predicting that George Russell will win the Drivers' Championship.
But you have to watch out, because if Verstappen had come P2 in that race and hadn't crashed out earlier, he would have pushed Russell. And we have to remember that after 6 weeks, they're taking away that compression. Because right now, Russell is not a good driver. He's not as good a driver as Verstappen and Leclerc. He has a very good car. So
he's no Lando Norris that will yield when the pressure comes. He's not Lando that will yield and allow Max pass. Russell will fight him and crash him together. Max thinks he's mad.
But I have a feeling. But Max is still more mad than Russell. Because remember 2 years ago when Russell got Max demoted, he said Max was driving too close to him, and before the race, Max said, "I'm going to fucking kill you on the wall." And Russell got Max is crazy. Let me tell you how crazy Max is. Max is now going to do Monaco next month in May, and he says he's thinking about quitting F1. So what I'm saying, the reason Max is crazy is because you can't threaten him. You say, "Oh, you guys don't do my rules. Okay, I'll go to GPT racing, and my fans will come."
I understand where Max is coming from.
Max is kamikaze.
The regulation is not.
So I think the difference between Max and Russell is that Russell is still a politician. Max is a pure savage. Max doesn't care about walking away from F1. He said, "I walk away from F1 because you guys are making rules. These rules are rubbish. They're rules."
Yeah, I don't like the regulations. Yeah.
All right, so this has been a good show. So I thought, tell us what you think about the race, then we'll get out. Yeah.
So basically, what I feel is that, the Red Bull car has a very good mechanical suspension design as well as good chassis efficiency. I feel that Max can use this MOM thing, this manual override thing, very well on the back straight, especially if you look at his ability to manage tire degradation while also simultaneously manipulating the brake bias. This lift and coast to fit the MG UK. He's very good at that. That could help him on the back straight to clear a lot of traffic. So I feel it could be a very good race for him, but I think they're just a little bit short compared to the Mercedes right now.
Do you think that Max will come second or third?
Max, I'd say third, behind Kimi.
Yeah, we'll see. So this is a good show. We have variations in agreement, but very, very good. I'll probably take us out. Nice one.
Another brilliant show. We've had Delbert coming back. We've had Mr. Johnny. Mustafa was there, and myself as well. We'll be back again with Formula One at the weekend, probably. Bye for now.
All right, so